Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. We are visiting with Esther Troyer and Lynette Mahaffey from Operation Christmas Child. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We just got out of summer, and most of us are really still in summer, still trying to hang on to the last little bits of it. Why are we talking about Christmas already?
Because with shoeboxes, you have got to plan ahead.
Yeah, I guess you do. Yeah.
You do.
And so you really do this all year round, don't you?
We do this all year round. In January and February and March, we lay the groundwork. We call churches. We talk to them about what they did the past year. And then come March, April, May, June, we talk to new prospective churches. And this time of year, we like to have speakers come to our areas just to get people more motivated and to let them know exactly why we're doing this.
Well, we'll talk about shoeboxes in a minute, but let's talk about some of these speakers because you've got some exciting events coming up as recently as tonight.
Absolutely. This evening, we are going to have Isabella McMillan, who was a shoebox recipient many years ago in communist Romania. And she's going to be telling the story of how God spoke to her through that shoebox. And then on Sunday, Isabella is going to be speaking at the church at Carter's Orchard in Dover, Ohio. So if you can't make it to the meeting tonight, which is at Carlisle Inn in Walnut Creek, Ohio, then come to the church at Carter's Orchard, which is at 2613 North Worcester Avenue in Dover. That's directly behind the Dollar General store on North Worcester in Dover.
And tell us the name of the church one more time, please.
The name of the church is the Church at Carter's Orchard. The pastor is Pastor Jason Stevens.
Well, let's hear more about Isabella. Tell us her story because she is a fascinating person, and it is so neat. Sometimes when you're putting together these shoe boxes, you kind of have in your mind what the little person on the other end is like that's going to be receiving this, and it's fun to take your own kids through, and they go, oh, he'll love this or she'll love this. But to get to meet someone who's been on the receiving end of a shoebox has got to be very, very special.
It is really special, and whenever I meet somebody who received a shoebox, it just puts more meaning and purpose into that shoebox that I'm going to be packing. It makes me think of them. Isabella was a little girl who grew up in communist Romania. As she told her story one time, and I heard her, she was saying how dark and dreary and drab the whole world was. It was just a very dark world. And her mom and dad had to work long hours, so her and her brother would come home from school. And because they were alone in a little tiny apartment, not much to do, one day they discovered a book underneath the floorboards of their living room. They got out the book and they started reading it. And every day after that, they would rush home after school and they would get out this book and read it. She didn't realize what this book was till one day she was invited to go to church by a friend. And there at church, she heard the same stories and realized she had been reading a Bible.
Somebody had that same book. One wonders what kind of games these kids were playing that they actually were pulling up floorboards in their apartment.
Well, this is true.
But thank goodness that they did, and they found a Bible. So were her parents hiding this, do we know? Or do we know how it got there?
We're not exactly sure.
That's
a question we have for her.
Yes, a good one for when you get to talk with her and meet her.
I do know that she said when her father saw the book, she showed it to him once. He said, please put that away and never, ever get it out again, never show it to anyone. So whether he knew it was there and was protecting the family, I don't know.
Very interesting. She and her brother, now do we know what happened with the brother? Is he over here in the United States as well?
I don't know. I have not heard that story.
What do we know about her now, today?
She is married. She lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she works for Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child.
I just can't imagine people's reaction when they get a chance to meet her, because she's lovely. She's, what, in her 30s, I'm guessing? Young mom,
Young mom, yes.
and now working for the very organization that
Yes.
meant so much to her. So cool that she went to a church and got to hear these same Bible stories and realize, oh, I'm not the only one. We're not the only ones reading these stories. But what does she say the shoebox specifically meant to her?
Well, I would love to tell you the story, but I don't want to give it away if you're going to come to hear her.
Okay, then. All right, so we
Yeah.
got to go. Remind us exactly. Tonight
Yes.
at Carlisle Inn, did you say?
Yes.
Or if this is a little short of notice, Sunday, the 17th, and remind us the church and everything one more time. And what time that would start?
The church is called the Church at Carter's Orchard, and it's on North Worcester and Dover, right behind the Dollar General store. And church, there are two services, the 9 o'clock service or the 11 o'clock service. And Pastor Jason would love to have you come and be a part of that service.
My guess is arrive early because as soon as people know they've got her speaking, it's going to be a full house, I'm sure.
If anybody has any idea how good this person is, Isabella is a wonderful communicator. She's just great. So everybody would be there if they had any inkling how great she was.
Now you have something else happening on the 28th in Wadsworth.
Yes, on the 28th in Wadsworth, the Akron area team for Operation Christmas Child is hosting what they're calling an OCC Shoebox Social. They're also having a special speaker, and that is Elena Hegemeyer. And Elena was a little 8-year-old who had received a shoebox in an orphanage in the Soviet Union, in the former Soviet Union. And she's going to be telling her story that evening at the Crossroads Community Church in Wadsworth. It's located at 118 High Street, Wadsworth, Ohio.
It's so cool to know we provide the fun little things. Help me remember how to pack a shoebox. You want to think of hygiene items, school items, art items, little toys. Help me remember what
Yes.
goes into a shoebox.
Yes, you're very right. We have the hygiene items. The school supplies are definitely very important. Just a little note that this year they are not allowed to put toothpaste in, unfortunately.
Okay.
And no candy. No.
What?
Yes, I know. Candy fills up those little nooks and crannies.
Oh, that's
but
the best part was pouring that in so that every
yes.
little inch of that shoebox was packed.
Yes.
Why? Why no candy? Who are these Grinches that took this away?
It comes down to customs in some of the countries. We always have to look at what is it that we want to share the most with the children, and that's Jesus Christ. And so if you think of something that's going to be inside of that box, it's going to keep Jesus from a child. You don't want it to be in that box. So as much as we love candy and want to send it to the children, because they would really love to have some candy,
Yes.
if it's going to stop the word of Jesus Christ to go to them, then we are not going to put it in.
So customs won't let them go any further than customs because they're wanting the candy, or what? Is that it? They're just keeping these for themselves.
I guess.
But you bring up such a good point because the most important thing that goes in that box is provided by Samaritan's Purse, and that is
Yes.
a gospel written in the child's own language. Talk about that a
Yes.
little bit.
At the distributions, they are given a book called The Greatest Gift. And they are also given, before they even receive the box, they are presented with the gospel message. They are given the story, and then they are given the box along with this book.
It's wonderful. And
Yes.
it's so inexpensive to put together a shoebox. Now, help us, because for me, the hardest part is wrapping these things. So give us
Yes.
some good ideas about other ways to do a shoebox, because it's just hard to wrap that lid separately from the box and have it look like anything. Mine don't look very good. So can we get the plastic ones? Can we
Yes.
order Operation Christmas Child pre-decorated shoeboxes?
Yes.
Are those yay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
you
my
can.
favorite. Where do we get those?
Those you can get on the Samaritan's Purse website. And then also this year they have introduced plastic Samaritan's Purse boxes.
Those are the best. And those hold up, don't they?
Yes.
And the children can use
Yes.
those then.
Yes, they can. They can use that's part of the gift.
Do either of these grown children now, these young ladies who are speaking on behalf of Samaritan's Purse and Operation Christmas Child, do they talk about specific things that were in their shoe boxes that they went, oh, and then I got a Barbie doll? Or, what is it that meant so much to them?
We had a full circle speaker in our area in August, and the Barbie doll is exactly what she talked about.
How did I know?
She was so excited when she opened her box, and on top was a Barbie doll in pink, and it just so melted her heart. But do you know what really made her happy? She had no toys of her own, and when she would go to the playground with the other kids, she never had anything to share. So she was so excited that she finally had something to share, and her Barbie doll would have sleepovers at her friend's house.
Oh, how cute. Oh, my goodness. Well, I know sometimes, Esther, I've heard stories of children being surprised that everything in the box is for them.
Yes.
Because they think they're shown
Yes.
this box and they think they're to pick one thing from it. And tell us the reactions that children have when they receive these.
Well, many times they're just overwhelmed because most of these children have never had a gift of their own before. I remember one speaker who spoke and said that she also was in Russia when she received her shoebox in an orphanage, and she said, we took our box, of course, to our bed, kept it, but when one of the girls would have a birthday, we would all pick something from our box and give it to them because we finally had something to share.
What is it that is built into us that is a need to give? When you see these children who have nothing, and their first reaction, I mean, that just brings tears to my eyes. Their first reaction when they get this boatload of fun stuff
Right.
is to give some of it away.
There was a little boy, and this was a distribution I was on in the Philippines, who opened his box, and he was excited. But on the bottom of the box, he saw this pair of flip-flops, and he got so excited about it. And so the gal that was helping him said, well, come on, let's put them on. And he put them on, but he took them off right away. And he turned around, and he gave them to a lady behind him. Later, my friend who was with him said she found out that was his grandmother and she didn't have any shoes.
Oh.
So the first thing he did was give out of that box to his grandma.
Am I remembering right? Were you telling a story one time, and I think I remember saying, drat, why didn't we say that while we were on the air? But it had something to do with a church, and they were going to give away a certain number of shoe boxes, and they had more kids than they realized show up.
Yes.
Oh, tell that story, because we're on the air now this time. We are not going to miss it this time. What happened?
Okay, well, this was also in the Philippines, and we went to this church, and we were told that they had taken 200 shoe boxes. Well, we walk in for the distribution, and the kids were already there in the church. I mean, it was packed with kids, and there were mothers with toddlers around the outsides, and everybody was so excited. And there was this beautiful young Filipino lady who was telling a story and singing with the kids. But as this was happening, we all look at each other and say, there's more than 200 kids here. What are we going to do? And our leader went up and talked to the pastor and said, there's more kids here than we think are shoeboxes. What should we do? Well, the pastor's wife was really pacing the back, and she came up to me and she said, I invited a whole bunch of kids a couple of blocks over that really don't have a church, so I just went ahead and invited them. They didn't realize that there was a certain number of shoeboxes going to be delivered there. Mm-hmm. So they finally decided that they would have all the kids who normally came to that church, and they would have them go out into another room, and we would give shoeboxes to the unchurched kids. Well, we did, and we started passing out shoeboxes, and there were still a bunch of shoeboxes there, so we had all the other kids come in, and everybody got a shoebox. Well, after it was all over, at the end of a distribution, we always would pray with the pastor and any of his staff that were there and just try and bless them and encourage them. And we had done all of that. We got back on our little bus to go. And when our leader got on, we said, okay, tell us what just happened.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know what just happened. I can't explain it. But he said, here are the numbers. He gave us the numbers. And he said, there were 17 shoeboxes left over on the platform.
So loaves and fishes.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
That was the first thing that came to my mind when we looked at it at this church and we saw these children. And in my mind, I kept hearing, I am the God of the loaves and the fishes. Wow. And I was saying, but God, you wouldn't let me see that really happen, would you? And but it did.
200 shoeboxes. 400 kids, and you had 17 left over. I mean, that is just too much fun.
You know, I told my little grandson that story when I got back, and he was 6 at the time, and he said, well, Grandma, God packs shoeboxes.
Well, of course.
I want to know what God packs in them.
Oh, man, that's just too wonderful. Too wonderful. We are visiting with Esther Troyer and Lynette Mahaffey from Operation Christmas Child, and we do need to take a little break. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.